We are talking vampires. I'm not talking about Hollywood elites or government agencies. We're not talking about that. We're talking vampires. Blood-sucking, Nosferatu, Dracula, insert whatever vampire you want. Your favorite vampire. Okay. Alright, Life's a Joke, 6965. I remember my girlfriend's grandmother kept a broom next to or hanging on all the doors in her house. When I asked her why she did it, she said they were there in case a vampire comes in the night while she sleeps. They have to stop and count all the bristles, and by the time they finish, the sun would come up and they would have to leave. She was dead serious in her belief of them. I didn't think it was tied to vampires, but I heard about the whole bristle thing. It's the weird, it was a broom, but like a Wiccan broom, maybe? A wicker broom? I've heard about that. That's interesting. I know what you're talking about. I didn't know it was tied to vampires, though. Carlos Cunha? Or is it Carlos Cunha? Carlos Cunha? 8625. When I was working in Angola in 2014, I got sick in the capital, Luanda. I went to the hospital waiting for a nurse when I saw two people, a guy and a woman, so white like marble. They passed by looking at me so intensely. They go upstairs. I go afterwards. What was to my surprise when I see there's only a door upstairs, and inside that room there's only a window. The window was open, and I didn't see anyone pass by me when I went up. The room was a place where they store blood in fridges, and they made blood analysis. The feeling I felt on that night, I will never forget. Angela, did I say that right? That one's interesting. Angela Gautreaux Barnes, 3388, I think. So many people were buried alive back then. How tragic that they clawed their way out of the grave, only to be accused of being undead and murdered. It happened quite a bit. If vampires truly existed, we would be overrun by them at this point, and we would be living on cattle farms. We might be. You don't know that. How do you know? So many people. Well, as I was looking that up, yeah, people were buried alive quite a bit. I think it was the Corolla they had, or the Corolla plague or epidemic or whatever. They had cemetery bells or whatever. So you were buried with I think it's like a rod or some sort of string, and you ring the bell and they know to come unbury you. It's terrifying. Okay, Mark Hamill, 8728. I'm a vampire from Galveston, Texas. Okay, alright. I don't want to say too much more. I've been a vampire since 1824. I've seen Civil War soldiers and so much history up close. I found caves helpful, as I could easily wake up during the day, quote unquote, because of the sound traps I perfected. I've only met a handful of vampires, and I wonder how many we are. With the internet, shopping has become so easy. I write history blogs for money these past 15 years. I'm a nice guy and have only ... Anyway, it can be very lonely. Sure, I've had many dates, but long-term relationships are very difficult. Online relationships are easier, but they have to be only a few hours drive. I had car trouble once, and it was tricky finding dark shelter before morning. I'm very sensitive to light, but on very cloudy days I can handle being outside in the daylight for maybe 5 minutes. HIV was dangerous, so I feasted mainly on the young and old. I've been able to become fluent in 5 languages since I've had almost 200 years to study. Huh, okay. See, a problem with a lot of these, there's comments that are saying they're vampires. All their descriptions sound like vampire books. Like the plot, like the beginning of it. I'm a nice guy and only have... they try to add a mystique that isn't necessary, I guess. There was that one chick that said she was like an energy vampire. which was pretty cool. She could like feed off people's like energy and suck their energy away from them. That's interesting. Speaking of energy vampires, kind of like Column from What We Do in the Shadows. Maybe he's an energy vampire. No, he said blood. Okay, because of the HIV. Okay, no, he's a blood vampire. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, some of these just seem like trying to go over the top and whatnot. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Narc extraordinaire. More recently walked into a Starbucks in Culver City around 6:30 a.m., the crack of dawn. And not only did people seem like vampires, with a dead-like paleness, with blackish color around the eyes, I thought I saw some fangs. I got my drink, walked out and asked this Mexican lady, where did all the people go? There's no one around. Keep in mind this is not a homeless person, not a junkie. She's worked at the Rain Tree Dry Cleaners here in Culver City for almost 20 years. She said the reason no one's around is everyone stays inside and orders blood delivered. They're all vampires. I asked, was she a vampire? And she said, yes, I'm a vampire. This happened 4 days ago, November 20th, 2023. The city is a ghost town now. Well, hold on. If she says everyone stays inside and orders blood, but he just saw the streets. Let's see. People seem like vampires. So, yeah, there was people out, and she contradicted that. By the way, where do you order blood at? Maybe they order it from, like, vampires, and the vampires comes drop it off or whatever. Like the vampire cleaning crews. I don't know. I think she was just pulling your leg, man. Maybe. I mean, if you're scared witless, those people, it's pretty funny to work up sometimes. Foxtrot 26. So last night, around something past 1 a.m., I had my window cracked open a little for some air. While I was nodding off to sleep, from a distance you could hear this immense pressure build up, heading towards or past the window, as if something came flying past with huge pressure and sound. All the car alarms went off and carports lifted as if something flew past, and it couldn't be seen because I was looking as it approached from a distance. As it flew past, my eyes caught a glimpse of a dark mass mid-air flying at immense speed past windows, cars, and everything else. Oh man, some of these are tough to read. Sounds like I don't know about vampire, maybe UFO or something. Wish you would have said how big it was. Devora Hammond 6405. I had a similar experience while working one night back in 2013, and it was terrifying to say the least. Hope to never have that happen again. I saw a young man with solid black eyes in the middle of winter in spotless, unwrinkled summer clothing. It was 20 degrees outside. No car dropped him off, and he asked to use the restroom. He went to the public restroom, and I hid in my office and watched on the camera. He never left the building, and he just disappeared somehow. There was no possible way not to catch him on camera. No windows in the bathroom. Let me just say that the minute that person walked in, the air went cold and dead. Like all the kindness in the room evaporated instantly. Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. This is the type of stuff. This is what I'm looking for in here. When some people are fully medicated, their pupils or whatever get super dilated. I don't know about the whole, like, I've never heard of it covering their whole eyes or what have you. Their eyes are like fully dilated, really massive. Like when the whole room drops in temperature. Also could be your mind playing tricks on you. I would have said it was a goth, but he was wearing summer clothing. Yeah, maybe not a goth. Yeah, I think that's like the cross to them, right? Summer clothing? Probably, something like that. Yeah, it sounds like the black-eyed children, or the black-eyed ones, the black-eyed children. Ooh. I mean, you can't get those, like, black eye contact lenses. I think it was in high school last time I saw someone wearing some of those. Those were creepy. Or might have been some red ones, too, but I don't know if they cover up maybe they cover up your full eye. Man, this vampire stuff, apparently a whole lot of people ain't got, vampire encounters. Dorj Padma, 2686. I saw one in 1992 in the University District of Seattle. I was walking over the Ravna Bridge with a friend. The friend had been telling me about a group of vampires that were trying to recruit him. I did not believe it, and thought he was just a tweaker. As we were crossing the bridge, he grabbed my arm and said, "That is one of them." The man walking towards us was dressed dapper, with a black jacket, white shirt, and a fedora. He held a cane. I started reciting the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, and walked past him quickly. As he passed us, I looked at his face, and his eyes were black, the blackest I have ever seen. No whites, no pupils. The experience was unsettling. We walked hurriedly to my house, and I let the poor fellow spend the night as he was terrified. True story. Interesting to see this here. Okay, that's interesting. It's kind of a little stereotypical, but Seattle, that's a weird place for vampires, huh? Who would have guessed Seattle? That's interesting. Like Louisiana, when I went down there, very grim, at least when I went. Rained the whole time for like a week, it felt like. Louisiana has this like mystique naturally to it that's kind of creepy. I don't know, probably because it's like so old, I assume. It sort of makes more sense since it's kind of unexpected. I don't know, Seattle. Is Seattle like that? I haven't been there. I don't know. Epiphany? I live in Seattle and have had one very strange incident. This was in the mid-1980s. I was driving east on Northeast 55th Street. It sounds like a cliche, but I was right by the cemetery between 30th and 35th. It was on my right. There was a chain link fence, no hedge. There was a man, straggly, long hair, wearing a trench coat, walking toward me on the sidewalk. I was looking right at him. Then he looked right back at me and proceeded to disappear right in front of my eyes. Poof, gone. So very strange, weird. Okay, that's the goths right there. Okay, yeah. But man, okay, yeah, the trench coat type stuff. Yeah, that's the gothy stuff. By the way, are goths a thing anymore? Seems like that died out. Like chilling out by cemeteries, trench coats, trying to out goth your goth buddies, stuff like that, you know? Man, yeah, I wonder if that's a thing anymore. That's interesting. That one's creepy. I like it. Man, just disappeared right in front of you. Huh. Christopher Dixon, 4212, had a strange encounter while serving on active duty after filing a standard report about some unusual movements. A couple weeks later, me and the other guys I was with were interviewed by a couple guys in all black uniforms with no unit or rank identifying markings. For 2 hours, they asked me the same questions over and over again. That wasn't strange, but what freaked me out was their strange, unblinking stares. For 2 hours, they never blinked, and it was like they were looking through me. At the end of all this, they said to never say what I saw, and if I did, they would be picking my bleached bones out of the desert sand 50 years from now. The other guys all said they had the same experience that I did. No idea who these guys were, but I'd care to never meet them again. The funny part was I had forgotten about the report and what I saw, but now I can't forget it. And no, I won't say what we saw. I take their threat very seriously. Someone's got to check up on Mr. Dixon. Oh my goodness. I always see these in the comments like, this happened and they told me never to say it, and it's just like, man, we got someone check up on these guys, alright? Or keep posting or commenting on something. I wouldn't say vampires, that's like more Men in Black type stuff. That's interesting. Okay. A Nattleby. I dated a girl who had a lot of vampire-like qualities. She was pale, thin, and looked much younger than her age, and had the largest green eyes I had ever seen, as well as crazy paranormal phenomena that surrounded her and me during the relationship. It's a long story, but I was attacked several times at night by some kind of entity, female, red hair, black eyes, and scars all over its body, and I would wake up with scratches. The girl was half Mexican, and I was told by a shaman later that this girl had a succubus-like demonic entity, high level, that was attached to her lineage, and it manipulated both her and me in a psychic way, and was after my life force. Wait, if it was attached to her lineage, was it like, did she turn into the... I wonder if she turned into the succubus. Like, did his girlfriend, or was like there's a whole nother chick in the room that was... or entity in the room. Classic succubus, let me tell you. Live Life 8980. I do not know what we saw, but here it is. August of 2020 in Maitland, Florida, around 9 to 10 p.m. after a very, very strange lightning storm. We were sitting in the backyard chatting and just cooling out, when just above the trees, a humanoid, winged being flew over us. My friend and myself both saw it clear as day. I could not tell you what the heck it was, but it absolutely happened. Truth is stranger than fiction for sure. Maybe the Jersey Devil or Mothman went down there for a vacation. A lovely vacation spot out here. Movie Clips 1441. One interesting incident that happened somewhere in America in a hospital. It's vague. Okay. Off to a good start. One interesting incident that happened somewhere in America in a hospital. A guy and an old couple stole all the blood from the blood bags. A nurse caught them. The young man threw 2 security guards like rag dolls, and he jumped out the window, fell 6 stories smashing onto the concrete road, got up and ran off into the night. Multiple witnesses confirmed this. The nurse, plus police reports, plus other witnesses who saw the man fall from 6 stories and somehow got up without injury and ran off. Even the TV series Beyond Belief hosted by Jonathan Frakes. The Beyond Belief research also stated it was an actual event, so vampires are real. I believe they are deliberately hiding from the public. Or they're controlling what the public gets to see or know or what have you. T. Price, $74.99. I met a fellow when I was stationed at Fort Polk and went on leave to New Orleans, who introduced himself as Jacques Saint Germain. We spoke in German, and he spoke a different dialect than I do. But it was a few years later that I found out anything about the original story. He did set off my instincts, and the girls I was drinking with and I declined to go to his party. A few years later, when I was out of the army, I had a much more interesting encounter with a girl I met and wandered around drinking a bit with, and woke up in a crypt that hadn't been opened in around 50 years, according to the groundskeeper who let me out. Okay, see, I like that. That's creepy. So we got black-eyed children. We got vampires, black-eyed children, men in black, all mentioned. Maybe they're all different types of vampires. You know, like black-eyed children are like kid vampires. They got turned when they were kids, obviously. Men in black are government vampires. And then vampires that you see in the streets are just like your average Joes, like the citizens. Sounded cooler in my head for sure. I think that's that. Yeah, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining me. I was your host, Cockles. I'm here all week. That's a wrap.